My brothers and sisters, I need you to hear me today because this is not just another message. This is a divine appointment. Somebody in this room, somebody listening right now, you are standing on the edge of a transformation. You have been feeling the shift, sensing the stirring deep within your spirit, and I came to tell you that what you are experiencing is not just a coincidence. It's not just life happening. No, this is God shaking things up because you are about to step into a new season where you will never be the same again. You see, when God gets ready to change a person, he doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't check your schedule, and he doesn't wait until you feel ready. He moves in ways that disrupt, that unsettle, that shake you loose from the comfort of what used to be because he knows that staying the same is not an option for where he's taking you. There are some things that God is breaking off your life, some mindsets that have kept you stuck, some relationships that have held you back, some patterns that have trapped you in cycles of frustration. You have been praying for change, but you didn't realize that change requires a breaking, and breaking is uncomfortable. When God gets ready to elevate you, he will first isolate you. He will remove distractions. He will strip away what is unnecessary. He will take you through seasons where you feel like everything familiar is falling apart. But I need you to understand he's not punishing you, he's preparing you. What you thought was rejection was actually redirection. What you thought was a loss was actually a lesson. What you thought was the end of something was actually the beginning of a brand new version of you. And when you come out of this, my God, you will not be the same. I know it's been hard. I know you've been crying at night. I know you've been questioning if you can make it. But the fact that you are still here, still standing, still holding on, is proof that God is not finished with you. The pain you are feeling is not an indication that you are broken. It's proof that you are being built. He is stretching you, enlarging you, making room for the person you are about to become, because the old version of you cannot carry the weight of the blessing that's coming. The old version of you cannot handle the doors that are about to open. The old version of you cannot step into the places that God has ordained for you to walk into. That's why the shaking has been so intense. That's why you feel like you're being stretched beyond your limit. Because you are being expanded, you are being elevated, you are being refined in the fire, so that when you step out, when you emerge from this season, you will not be the same. And let me tell you something, when God transforms you, people will look at you and wonder what happened. They will see the confidence, they will see the power, they will see the favor, and they will not be able to recognize the person they once knew. Because when God does a work, he doesn't do it halfway. He doesn't do it in pieces. He doesn't do it where you can return to who you used to be. No, when he touches your life, when he changes your spirit, when he breathes his power into your situation, you will be unrecognizable to those who only knew the old version of you. So my brother, my sister, stop fighting the process. Stop resisting the transformation. Stop trying to hold on to what God is trying to release you from. You have been in this place long enough. You have been surviving long enough. You have been settling long enough. God is calling you higher, calling you deeper, calling you into a new season where you will not just exist, but you will thrive. And if you can just hold on, if you can just trust him through this, if you can just endure the discomfort of change, you will wake up one day and realize you'll never be the same again. The breaking season is painful but necessary, because it is in the breaking that God does his most profound work in your life. It is in the breaking that you begin to see what you are really made of, where you stand with God, and how much you truly trust him. You see, there are some things in your life that cannot go with you into the next season. There are some relationships, some mindsets, some habits, some ways of thinking, some ways of speaking, and some ways of seeing yourself that have to be broken off of you so that you can step into what God has for you. But breaking is never comfortable. Breaking will make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Breaking will make you wonder if you have what it takes to survive. Breaking will make you cry in the midnight hour. wondering when the pain will end. But I need you to understand that God does not allow breaking to destroy you. He allows it to build you. He allows it to stretch you. He allows it to mature you, because if you are going to handle the weight of what he has for you next, you cannot be weak, you cannot be fragile, you cannot be easily shaken. So he breaks you in the secret place, in the quiet place, in the places where no one else sees, in the moments when you feel alone, abandoned, and overlooked. Because it is in those moments that your faith is truly tested. It is easy to trust God when everything is going well, when doors are opening, when prayers are being answered, when the blessings are flowing. But can you trust him when everything seems to be falling apart, when nothing is making sense, when you don't see the way forward, when you are crying out and it feels like heaven is silent? Can you still say, God, I trust you, when everything around you says you should give up? Can you still believe that he is working all things together for your good when all you feel is the breaking? Because it is in that place where real faith is forged. It is in that place where real strength is developed. It is in that place where God prepares you for the blessing he is about to release over your life. Because if you cannot handle the breaking, you will not be able to handle the blessing. If you cannot survive the process, you will not be able to sustain the promise. Some of you have been praying for elevation, but you didn't realize that elevation comes with breaking. Some of you have been asking God for more, but you didn't understand that more requires sacrifice. Some of you have been crying out for God to take you to the next level, but you didn't recognize that the next level requires a deeper level of faith, a greater level of obedience, a willingness to let go of what is comfortable and step into the unknown. And so determines the way you live, and the way you live determines what you are able to receive. God is preparing to do something new in your life, but if your mind is still trapped in old patterns, if your perspective is still shaped by past experiences, if your faith is still limited by what you have seen before, you will not be able to step into the fullness of what he has in store for you. God does not pour new wine into old wineskins, because the old structure cannot contain the new thing he is doing. In the same way, you cannot embrace the next level of your life while still holding on to the limitations of the past. Your thinking has to shift before your life can shift. Your mindset has to be transformed before your circumstances can be transformed. Your belief system has to be elevated before your blessings can be elevated. Too many people miss out on what God has for them because they are trying to fit the new thing into an old framework. They want to walk in victory, but they are still thinking like a victim. They want to experience abundance, but they are still operating from a place of lack. They want to build new relationships, but they are still carrying the wounds of past betrayals. They want to step into a new level of purpose, but they are still clinging to the fear and insecurity that kept them bound in the last season. God is saying that where he is taking you requires a different version of you. You cannot take doubt into your next season. You cannot take small thinking into your next season. You cannot take bitterness, unforgiveness, or negativity into your next season. You have been asking God to open doors, but are you mentally prepared to walk through them? You have been praying for opportunities, but do you have the faith to seize them? So you have been believing for change, but have you renewed your mind so that you can sustain the blessing when it comes? Renewing your mind is not just about thinking positive thoughts. It is about aligning your thoughts with God's thoughts. It is about training your mind to see challenges as opportunities, to see setbacks as setups, to see closed doors as divine protection. It is about rejecting the lies that the enemy has whispered in your ear and replacing them with the truth of God's word. It is about refusing to let past failures define you and instead allowing them to refine you. Because if your mind does not change, nothing else will change. You can step into a new place, but if you bring an old mindset, you will recreate the same struggles. You can be given new opportunities, but if you still think in terms of limitations, you will sabotage your own success. You can walk into a new season, but if your mindset is still stuck in the last one, you will never fully embrace what God is doing now. God is calling you to think higher, to believe bigger, to see beyond what is in front of you. He is calling you to release the mental strongholds that have kept you bound, to break free from the thought patterns that have held you back, to stop settling for less because you are afraid to hope for more. People will not recognize the new version of you because when God elevates you, when He transforms you, when He shifts you into your purpose, there will be people who can no longer define you by who you used to be. They knew you in your struggling season. They knew you when you were insecure. They knew you when you settled for less. They knew you when you doubted yourself. They knew you when you were bound by fear. They knew you when you were just trying to survive. But what they do not realize is that you are not that person anymore. The transformation that God is doing in your life is so deep, so powerful, so undeniable that the people who thought they had you figured out will have to take another look. The people who once underestimated you will be confused by what they see. The people who thought you would always be the same will not understand how you have changed. When God does a new thing in you, some people will not be able to handle it. They will question it. They will resist it. They will try to remind you of who you used to be. They will bring up your past. They will bring up your mistakes. They will try to box you in based on an outdated version of you. But what they do not know is that God has been working on you in the secret place, molding you, refining you, shaping you into the person He always intended you to be. They do not know the battles you fought in silence. They do not know the prayers you prayed when no one was watching. They do not know the tears you cried behind closed doors. They do not know the nights you wrestled with doubt but chose to trust God anyway. They do not know the sacrifices you made to become who you are now. Some people will not be able to accept the new you because the old you was convenient for them. The old you tolerated things you should have walked away from. The old you settled for less than what you deserve. The old you made yourself small to make others comfortable. The old you allowed yourself to be defined by the expectations of people instead of the purpose of God. But now that you are trust the process God is working, even when you can't see it, because there are moments in life when it feels like nothing is changing, when it seems like your prayers are unheard, when it looks like all your efforts are in vain, but God is moving behind the scenes in ways you cannot comprehend. He is orchestrating events, aligning circumstances, positioning people, and setting things in motion long before you ever see the results. Just because you cannot see it does not mean He is not working. Just because you do not feel, it does not mean He is not present. Just because it is taking longer than you expected does not mean He has forgotten about you. God is not limited by what you see. He is not restricted by your understanding. He is not confined to your timeline, and He does not need your approval to accomplish His plan. There are times when God will allow you to walk through a season of waiting, not because He is withholding something from you, but because He is preparing you for what is ahead. If He gave it to you too soon, you would not be ready. If He opened the door before the right time, you would not be able to handle it. If He removed every obstacle immediately, you would never develop the strength and endurance you need for the next level. Sometimes He delays things because He is refining your character. Sometimes He withholds things because He is strengthening your faith. Sometimes He closes doors because He knows that what is on the other side is not for you. Every setback is not a denial. Every delay is not a punishment. Every obstacle is not meant to destroy you. Some things are simply part of the process, part of the journey, part of the refining, part of the growth. God sees the full picture when you only see a fragment. He knows the outcome when you are still questioning the next step. He has already worked out the details when you are still trying to figure it all out. What seems like a season of stillness is actually a season of preparation. What feels like being stuck is actually positioning. What looks like rejection is actually protection. If you could see what God is doing behind the scenes, you would not be discouraged. You would not be anxious. You would not be losing sleep over things that are out of your control. If you truly believe that he is working all things together for your good, you would not be trying to force things to happen in your own strength. You would not be doubting his timing. You would not be questioning his faithfulness. Faith is trusting even when there is no evidence. Faith is believing even when nothing makes sense. Faith is holding on even when everything in you wants to let go. God is not asking you to understand everything. He is asking you to trust him. He is not asking you to have all the answers. He is asking you to lean on him. He is not asking you to figure it all out. He is asking you to be still and know that he is God. He is working behind the scenes in ways you cannot see. He is moving pieces into place that you do not even know about. He is making a way where there seems to be no way. He is aligning things in the spiritual realm that will manifest in the natural in due time. You may not see it now, you may not feel it yet, you may not understand it at this moment, but one day you will look back and realize that everything had a purpose, that every delay was divine, that every challenge was necessary, that every closed door was leading you to something better. God never wastes a season. He never wastes a tear. He never wastes a struggle. He never wastes a waiting period. Trust the process because he is working even when you cannot see it. You'll never be the same after this. After the breaking, after the isolation, after the transformation, after trusting the process, after surrendering your old mindset, after stepping into what God has been preparing you for, you cannot go back to who you used to be. The people who knew you before may not recognize you. The challenges that once defeated you will no longer have power over you. The insecurities that once held you back will no longer define you. Because when God takes you through a season of growth, when he stretches you, when he refines you, when he calls you higher, you do not come out the same. You come out stronger, wiser, bolder, and more focused. You come out with a different level of faith, a deeper level of trust, a clearer understanding of who you are and whose you are. You'll never be the same. Because this was not just a process, it was preparation. It was not just pain, it was purpose. It was not just loss, it was transformation. God has been shaping you, molding you, stripping away everything that was not meant to go with you into the next season. The things that once broke you will now build you. The things that once shook you will now strengthen you. The things that once limited you will now launch you. You are stepping into a new version of yourself, one that is aligned with God's purpose, one that is unshaken by fear, one that is no longer bound by the past. So walk boldly, step confidently, embrace what God has for you. Because after everything you have been through, after everything you have overcome, after everything God has done in you and through you, one thing is for sure, you'll never be the same.